Pick 3 is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code SBNNFL for a special offer when you sign up. That's code SBNNFL only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. We are trying to get you set up in your DraftKings lineups. We do this each and every week. We pick one quarterback, one wide receiver, and one running back that we think provides the most value to your lineup so you can get some of the more premium guys in. And then Justis will give you his 3 favorite bets of the week. Kate, your pick 3 quarterback.
First of all, I'd like to issue a formal apology to anybody that might have put Tyrod Taylor into their lineups last week. I thought he was a great salary relief option. It immediately became clear to me and all of the Texans coaching staff that was not the case. Sorry about that, but I'm back with another good one. Another juicy matchup. Cam Newton, $5,400 this week against the Atlanta Falcons. They've allowed the second most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. 6 games of 25 fantasy points to opposing running backs. That's the most of any defense in the NFL. 5 outings where they've allowed at least 3 touchdowns. And that came from Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady twice, Tua, and Taylor Heineke. Cam Newton's had a rushing touchdown in each of his 3 games so far this season. I really like him in this matchup, and I really like the cost. $5,400 for a guy that does have top 5 upside. That's really hard to beat.
Yeah, big bounce back game for Cam Newton incoming. My pick 3 quarterback is Taysom Hill. We already talked about it. It's a fantastic matchup against the New York Jets. He's only $5,600, and he's dealing with that finger injury, which makes me a little worried about him as a passer. But to be honest, I don't have much confidence in Taysom Hill as a passer in general, whether he's healthy or not. So it's all about the rushing floor. Coming off the game over 100 rushing yards. He's got Alvin Kamara back. I think the Saints are just going to run a ton in this game. We know you can run all over the New York Jets. I think he's provides plenty of safe fantasy upside in your lineup this week. Your pick 3 running back, Kate.
I'm going with JaMychal Hasty. He's only $4,000 this week, which really surprises me just considering the fact that all of these running backs are super banged up in San Francisco. The 49ers ranked 6th in rushing yards. 6th in rushing touchdowns, 9th in rushing yards, 8th in rushing attempts. And that's been throughout this whole carousel of running backs. Obviously, Elijah Mitchell's the guy you want in the lineup, but Kyle Shanahan doesn't sound optimistic about that. The nice thing about these 49ers running backs is that the system Kyle Shanahan has in place, you don't need a ton of touches. You don't need a ton of volume. You just need a couple of big plays, which he has designed this offense to do. I think JaMychal Hasty might be able to break off 1 or 2 big runs, and he's automatically worth your bottom dollar cost of $4,000, which, by the way, Darius Geis, also $4,000 this week. Is he even on an NFL roster? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, so go with JaMychal Hasty, please.
My pick 3 running back is Deontay Foreman. He's only $5,100. The Titans get the Jags this week. They're coming off of a bye. It feels like it was forever ago, but he had over 100 rushing yards in his last game, and he's the closest thing the Titans can do in their backfield to try to replicate what Derrick Henry brings to the table. He's obviously not Derrick Henry, but it's a favorable matchup. Tennessee's rested off the bye. I think Deontay Foreman's a guy you absolutely got to get into your lineup. Your pick 3 wide receiver.
Going with Darnell Mooney, who's sitting at $5,700 this week. Since week 8, Mooney is the wide receiver 14 in half PPR formats, getting nearly a 28% target share, averaging 75 receiving yards per game. He's done all of that. He is still the wide receiver 14, and he's just seen 1 red zone target. That's pretty freaking incredible. I love the opportunity. I love the scoring. I think this is just too cheap not to get this guy in as a fringe high upside wide receiver too.
My pick 3 wide receiver is Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think it's a little crazy that he's only $3,900 this week. We talked about that matchup with the Ravens. they've had secondary issues all season, and now they lost Marlon Humphrey, who's their absolute best cornerback. Donovan Peoples-Jones, while he's been inconsistent, has been a guy who's getting a lot of routes since they traded Odell Beckham. I think he's got an opportunity to have one of those games where he breaks off a long touchdown or something like that. At $3,900, I think he's an incredible value in your lineup against this Ravens. Your pick 3 bets of the week, Justice.
I'm going to start this off. Baltimore +3 at Cleveland.
Balls.
Feel like we forgot about Baker Mayfield playing through like every injury possible and just not looking right for the past month. They had an off week, so it was like, oh, we just completely, just forget about it completely. Stafford coming off the bye is when we got all the news about like, hey, he had 50 injuries, by the way. Baltimore obviously didn't have a good game against the Steelers. I feel like we've already seen the overreaction on the opposite side, right? Where everyone's like, wow, huge win for the Steelers. And then they lay an egg for 3 quarters against the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think that game is kind of indicative of future performance. I'm taking Baltimore here. I think they have the better quarterback. I understand they can't cover anyone. I don't think Baker looks right. And until he looks right, I'm willing to kind of fade him, especially if Baltimore's a 3-point road dog. The next game, Dallas -4.5 at Washington. Mike McCarthy really just put everything on the table. They got to win this game. Washington, I still don't think is a good football team. I still don't think they're going to make the playoffs. There's a huge talent gap here. I don't know what Washington does better than Dallas. I think Dallas has a better offensive line. They have better skill players. They have a better quarterback, and they probably have a better defense. So I don't understand how Washington comes out of this game with a win. I'm willing to take Dallas -4.5 and just hope that they cover that. Last game, San Francisco at Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a 2-point home dog. That is weird. If I look at this game and I'm like, this is like close to a pick 'em if both teams are healthy, because you never know what San Francisco team you're going to get each week or what Cincinnati team you're going to get. But the fact that Mitchell could very well miss this game and Deebo Samuel could very well miss this game tips me to the Bengals' favor, just because of how much those guys mean for the San Francisco 49ers, just in terms of being able to get the ball out of Jimmy Garoppolo's hand very quickly. I'm not so worried about Joe Burrow's finger. I understand Joe Mixon is kind of like a game time decision. Mixon seems like the type of guy where it's like, if he's going to play, he's going to get the entire workload. So I'm willing to take Cincinnati and with kind of these injury questions up in the air.